Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about left turns. The reason I'm talking about left turns is I posted a video on TikTok, and to say the least, there was a little bit of road rage about the method I teach for turning on left turns. And so there was some anger, and I didn't take it personally because TikTok is different than YouTube. So, we take it for what it is. My friend Joe is here. Ben is here. Hello, Ben. Haven't seen you for a while. I hope everything's all right. My friend Mallory is here. Evan is here. And Tim from Drive Smart BC. And if you are in the province of British Columbia and want to know anything about traffic safety, courts, decisions the courts have made regarding drink driving, other traffic laws, and want to get involved in a forum and ask authorities questions, check out Tim's site, Drive Smart BC, and all of the great information over there. So left turns, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about to keep yourself safe and the idea of social driving. How do you keep yourself safe, and how do you focus on what you're doing when you're making left-hand turns? And the reason that left-hand turns are dangerous is because more than 40% of crashes happen at intersections. And this is the reason that I tell you and advocate and teach to stay out of the intersection until the gap presents itself. Minimize the amount of time that you are in the intersection, because 42% of crashes happen at intersections. So if you're committed to the intersection but not in the intersection, it's less likely that something is going to happen to you. And I have your best interest at heart. And there was one comment on TikTok, and I'm kicking myself because I deleted it. The gentleman said, I am proficient in jiu-jitsu. I bench 315 pounds, and if you don't move into the intersection, God help you. And I'm really kicking myself because I'm protective of my smart driver community, and I deleted it because the guy was a bully and road raging. But as it is. So, Z is here. Melissa's here from Windsor. Adek, hello, my friend. And no, still not waiting. We had a little bit of technical difficulty there at the beginning. I don't know, everything went wonky tonight. The internet wasn't working. The streaming software wouldn't work. I couldn't get the camera to do what it needed to do, and it's all weird. So, Beninga is here. Hello, CN is here. Lots of people here tonight. Epic, what do you think of American states that border the province of British Columbia, which are Idaho and Washington State, allowing left on red from one-way street to two-way roads? Watching from eastern Pennsylvania. Actually, I don't think that you can do that, Epic, because you're going to be crossing oncoming traffic. So, can you send me a source for that, Epic? Because I'd be interested in having a look at that. All right. Gagne, I have friends who say I turn slow, but when I took my G2 2 of 4 times, I had a long turn on a main road. So, yeah, maybe you need to speed up a little bit. I don't know. Maybe we can explore that a little bit. Road rage and turns, yes. Joe says gorgeous weather this weekend here in the Toronto area, southwestern Ontario. And Mallory and Evan is still going on about different signaling rules in Europe. And Evan, there are not different signaling rules in Europe. There may be a different culture of signaling, but it is one of the cardinal rules of driving. Every time you change direction of the vehicle, signal. Every time you change direction of the vehicle, shoulder check, observe. Every time that you park the vehicle, put the parking brake on. You're getting bad information from a driving instructor who likes to make things complicated. And one of the things that good driving instructors struggle with and continue to work on and improve, and I think Tim will say this as well, Corey, other people who've taken driving lessons with driving instructors, is that we try to give you the information in the simplest form possible. That's what good instructors, good teachers do. Well, it doesn't matter what you're teaching, whether it's driving or chemistry or medicine. Instructors, good teachers will give you the information in the simplest form possible. And when they're telling you all kinds of different things about something that is not complicated, I call them power over driving instructors. They're just instructors who are going, look at how much I know. And really, you don't want those kinds of teachers in your life, because they're just have an inflated ego in their position of power, and they're making your life just arduous and difficult, which means arduous is a big word, means a lot of work that you don't need to be doing. Gagney, the long turns before I was clear the intersection, not even a gap with a car coming, but friends get frustrated that I wait for entirely clear intersection. Gagney, you don't need to be doing that, waiting for an entirely clear intersection. You got to figure out what the gap is and when you can go on the gap. We'll talk a little bit about that more during the presentation and the discussion after the presentation. Principal, how are you, my friend? Mallory, weather here in southwest Nova Scotia this weekend has been nice and warm, and yes, I think summer has finally arrived in late July. So get over here to the PowerPoint presentation. We'll get through that. As I said in the past, the PowerPoint presentation is about 10 minutes. It's a little bit shorter this week, and I'll get through that, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about turning left and keeping you safe from not only the dangers inherent in turning left in an intersection, but also from road raging drivers who think that you should move up right deep into the intersection. And we could talk about that as well in terms of advanced driving skills and driving in congestion. When there is a lot of traffic, sometimes you do have to move into the intersection in preparation to get through the intersection. But for the most part, no, you don't have to move into the intersection. D says, keep it simple as I was taught as an instructor. Yes, the KISS principle. Keep it simple, smart guy. Because those that are trying and working to keeping it simple in simple language are the people that are smart. The people that are making it complicated and saying too many things and too many words and giving you all kinds of little details, those are the people that are not smart. Okay? So left turns, let's get through this here. And so left-hand turns that we're talking about tonight. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s. Drove for Greyhound, one of the regional bus lines in Australia while I was going to university there. Became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997. Graduated from the University of Melbourne in Australia in 2006 with my doctorate in legal history, which many of you know is the study of policing, courts, and prisons. My expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic and traffic laws and how we control road user behavior. And I use road user because we're not talking just about drivers. We're talking about cyclists, we're talking about pedestrians, we're talking about big trucks, and anybody who is vying and sharing road space. So that's what we're talking about. Started the Smart Drive Test YouTube channel in 2015. It's been wildly more successful than I could have ever imagined. We're approaching 250,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. We're averaging, we passed 36 million views. We're averaging 1,500 hours of watch time a day. The TikTok channel has 25,000, just over 24,000 subscribers. So 3.2 million views on TikTok. So yeah, we're doing all right. And we started a podcast here about a month ago. This week's podcast was Pass Your Driver's Test First Time, episode 6. Have a look at that if you're working towards your driver's license and want some more information. And new video this week was driving through roundabouts in Spain. Another video from when I was there on vacation a few weeks back. So have a look at those. All those links are down in the description underneath the video. So have a look there. Okay, crossing oncoming traffic. This is one of the reasons why left-hand turns are dangerous. Many people misjudge the gap. They go on the yellow, don't ensure that the oncoming traffic is in fact stopping before they commit to the turn. And know as well, T-bone crashes have now replaced head-on collisions as the most dangerous type of collision because there's nothing in the doors of the vehicle to protect you. There's a thin sheet of metal on the outside of the car, and on the inside there's a little bit of plastic there. Some vehicles do have side impact airbags. However, there's a lot of energy from the oncoming vehicle, and often that energy is concentrated in one place because of the configuration and the physics of the crash. And as well, the energy is all aimed at your abdomen where your vital organs are. And the really terrible, horrible thing about T-bone crashes is often it's a couple in the car, the spouse is driving, and they just killed their partner in the crash when they go to the hospital and they learn that that's what happened when they misjudge the gap or don't double triple check that the oncoming traffic is in fact stopped, and they turn and they get T-bone. And Corey has put up the video on T-bone there. Thank you for that, Corey. Okay, residential areas. If you're learning how to drive and you want to learn to drive defensively for left-hand turns, start turning in a quiet area. And you can see there on the left in the image that there's a pedestrian there. You have to be looking to the left, scanning the intersection, mapping road users and pedestrians. And you need at least a half a lane of space between you and the pedestrian. If the pedestrian is going away from you, if the pedestrian is coming towards you, you need a lane and a half, okay, or more. Get comfortable with the steering wheel, do your slow speed maneuvers in the parking lot, and find your landmarks. And when you're turning left in the residential areas, you start turning left, turning the steering wheel when your body in the car is in line with the edge of the cross street. Now, it's a little more complicated when you get onto multi-lane roads, because the lane before the lane that you're going to turn in is where you need to be in line with before you start turning the steering wheel. And you can work with the driving instructor, work with your mentor to figure that out as well. But slow speed maneuvers in parking lots, backing around corners, reversing, those types of things, all of that will help you out with manipulating the steering wheel and figuring out where your vehicle is in space and place. So every turn, every time you change direction of the vehicle or move it sideways, shoulder checking and signaling, okay? When you're in doubt, you're turning the steering wheel, you're changing the direction of the vehicle, make sure that you're shoulder checking, even on left-hand turns. And I get this question a lot from smart drivers. Why do I need to turn left? There's a concrete barrier there. There's nobody can get in beside me. The reason is that you want to develop the habit so that you don't have to think about it when you're shoulder checking. It's just a simple, you develop the habit, you do it for 90 days. Every time you change direction of the vehicle, you signal. Every time you change direction of the vehicle, you shoulder check left and right. That way you're going to keep yourself safe. You can see in the image here, lane splitting. If you go to Europe, you drive in the state of California, lane splitting is a thing. It's when motorcycles move up between the lanes of cars, and you need to shoulder check, not only for motorcycles, other vulnerable road users, kids on scooters and skaters, cyclists, pedestrians. All of these people are going to do goofy things, and they're going to step out onto your left side. So make sure that you're shoulder checking. Okay? This is the method that I teach, and if you are waiting behind the stop line to turn left, you're too far back from the intersection. It's the same thing as if you stop when you can see the stop line at a stop sign intersection. You're simply too far back from the intersection. You have to move forward so that the front tires of your car are on that front crosswalk line. That way you're committed to the intersection, but you're not in the intersection in case something happens. And you're looking for your gap, and when the gap comes, you're going to drive straight forward into the intersection to meet that gap. It's the same thing as if the light turns yellow. You're going to move straight into the intersection to double, triple, quadruple check that the oncoming traffic is in fact stopping before you commit to the turn. Don't turn, for the purposes of your driver's test, don't drive over painted islands. And I've heard people say this, that in Australia you can do this, in other countries and whatnot. I just say don't do it, because the painted island provides a space buffer between you and oncoming traffic. So know that. And if you are committed to the turn, you have your front tires on the front crosswalk line. When the light goes yellow, you have to go. And if you get into the intersection and the cars are still coming and they're not stopping, then you need to go on the red. You own the intersection. You have claimed the intersection, and you need to move through that intersection. All right. The other challenge with turning left at complex intersections and intersections with right turning lanes is you need to be mapping and tracking right turning vehicles on the other side of the intersection. Because I have been down at intersections and I have counted the number of cars that will turn right and then drift over immediately right into the left-hand lane. It's about 50%. Half of the cars that turn will drift right over. So if you're turning into the left lane, don't turn in beside the other car. Don't track it as you're going around the corner. Either either turn in front of it or turn in behind it. And it's just a matter of adjusting your speed a little bit to let other vehicle go first. So good luck in your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. So we'll get back over here, and we'll answer any questions you have about turning left and those types of things. Tim says, I understand lane filtering as motorcycles moving up between stopped vehicles at red lights. Lane splitting is driving between lanes anywhere. Big difference. I'm not following that, Tim, what you're saying there about lane splitting. Gupta got honked at left turn today. Just stop sign, no red light. Pickup truck bouncer shaped guy didn't know there was a car coming from the left side. He was so impatient. And Gupta, unfortunately, that's just part of driving. And as I said, I got quite a bit of road rage over on TikTok from saying that, you know, I don't teach people to move into the intersection. And it was interesting because the comments on the video, I made a video answering one of the questions I had from one of my smart drivers, and it was actually about 50-50. 50% of people said, yes, move into the intersection, and the other 50% of people said, no, I'm not moving into the intersection, I'm going to stay back. Now, as I said in the presentation, if you're behind the stop line, you're too far back. You're not committed to the intersection, because oftentimes the stop line is quite a distance, 2 or 3 car lengths back from actually the edge of the intersection. So when you're waiting, you want to be on the edge of the intersection in preparation to move up into the intersection. But you want to reduce the amount of time that you're actually in the intersection, okay? And that's what we're doing when we're meeting the gap and waiting at the edge of the intersection. Gupta, can I show the middle finger next time? Gupta, oftentimes it's just better to wave and say, have a nice day. Have a nice day. That usually upsets them even more than the finger, because they want a reaction from you, right? Mallory, when turning left, how do you know when your gap is coming? So that is part of the training, Mallory, that you need. If you're turning across the multi-lane roads, you need anywhere from kind of 8 to 15 seconds to get across those lanes of traffic, depending on what you're driving, how fast it is, how much you can pick up speed and whatnot. But usually in a car, you're going to need 6 to 10 seconds to get across a 2-lane road. So as new drivers, we take them out to the corner and then we get them to kind of judge that gap. But it's very much experiential. It's something that you need to learn when you're sitting in the car and you're actually driving. It's not something you can say to people, okay, you do this, do that, do this. It's very much experiential, and learning how to judge that gap and judge the speed of moving vehicles, because that's the other skill that we need to learn as drivers, is to figure out how fast other vehicles are driving in relationship to our vehicle. So that's another challenge of making left-hand turns safely. Denny, the law states that you must be behind the line. Denny, the law for what? What is the law regarding in terms of be behind the line? Because that doesn't make any sense. If you're stopped waiting at the intersection, yes, you need to be behind the stop line. But if you're going, move up and get committed to the intersection in preparation to make your turn. Don't teach S maneuver at offset intersections. It's a great technique if taught properly. Teach the S maneuver. Yes, I call it the jig jog D, but I know what you're talking about. We can talk about that, because what happens is you're lined up with the left turning traffic on the other side of the intersection, and you can't see past the big truck or the large vehicle on that side, so you have to move over to the left a little bit without crossing the center line, and then straighten your tires again, because this is the other defensive driving strategy, is when you're turning left and you're waiting, you don't want to have the vehicle angled or have the steer tires turned, because if you get rear-ended, you're going to get driven into oncoming traffic, and that's going to make the crash even worse. So always keep your steer tires straight so that you're not driven into the oncoming traffic. Okay, Tim says filtering only occurs between stopped vehicles at intersections. Okay, and then you said something else here. Lane splitting is driving between lanes of traffic anywhere, anytime on multi-lane roads. Okay, so Filtering only occurs between. Okay, Tim, we're making this complicated. You're making this complicated by calling it different things. It's like when people call roundabouts traffic circles. It's like, why don't we just call them roundabouts and then we don't get confused by the language? Lane filtering and lane splitting. Now you've confused me, Tim. You've confused me. Oh, Ben, I get honked at for keeping 3 lengths on the freeway during rush hour, but people still honk at me. What should I do about this? Tim, or Ben, rather, sorry, just ignore them. Just ignore. If they're in that much of a hurry and they think they're going to go anywhere, just, let them go around you or whatnot, because they're really not. In the end, they're not. They're going to get one vehicle in front of you, and that's what I find with most of these people. So, yeah. Gooped on a red light controlled intersection when we are about to turn left and turns yellow for us. What is oncoming traffic, yellow or red? Better to be red for them. Okay. Gooped, I'm not understanding that. Maybe you could reword it for me if you don't mind. Maybe Tim, you could just send me an article, because I think that motorcycles should be able to lane split because it just makes them more visible in traffic. I think one of the reasons why we have such a high crash rate with motorcycles in North America is because we don't allow lane splitting, and therefore motorcycles are not visible as much as they should be. If they were lane splitting, then drivers would have to pay attention and to understand what motorcycles are doing and say, hey, we need to keep that up. So Ben, I still haven't been stopped by a police for any reason, yet it's been almost 2 years since I had my license. That's awesome. Congratulations. Natural ice T-bone crashes are more common in South Carolina. T-bone crashes are a lot more common than people would like to think, unfortunately. Okay, principal. So my friend took a road trip and we were traveling on I-74. We reached exit 53 and the next exit was 2AB. Why did it go down so much? Principal. So you got off at 53AB. I'm thinking that what happened was that maybe the 5 fell off or got rubbed off or something. At least that's my initial guess. I don't know without seeing the sign. So, okay. Benanga, thank you so much for the super chat. That is awesome. What can I do when the car in front of the intersection wants to also a left turn and blocks me to see the way the other traffic? Benanga, when there's another vehicle in front of you and you can't see the oncoming traffic, you have to wait until that vehicle in front of you commits to the turn. And actually watch the video, the short, a couple of days ago with the truck. And there's actually quite a number of times with the trucks or with the car, and there's a vehicle out deep in the intersection. I'll just wait back behind the stop line to figure out whatever they're doing and then wait for them to go. And then once they go, then I will move up into the intersection and commit myself to the intersection. Corey, so one is at red light, the other is during moving traffic. Yes, okay. Z, Ira, can you please do a video on how to use the GPS? We do have one, Z, but I need to do it again because it's fairly lengthy. It's a long video. That might work for you, but I can do another one that's a little bit easier for you, a little bit shorter. Ben, I have a sense of what people are doing when driving before they do it. That is a good thing to have when driving. Ben, it's a very good thing to be able to kind of read the traffic patterns and then predict the individual movements of different road users on the roadway. Absolutely. D, you think goop means after a light turns red, what is the color of the traffic waiting for the light to change? Yeah, there's exactly what D said there. There's always a safety buffer in the intersection. For example, when one traffic light goes to red, there's at minimum a 2-second delay from the time that the other traffic light turns green. The reason for that is to try and reduce red light runners at intersections, because the traffic goes around and then there's a delay, the intersection empties out and then the other traffic goes. It's twofold. First, it's for trying to reduce red light runners. The next one is it's also trying to reduce congestion by emptying the intersection before you move the cross traffic into the intersection. So whether that works or not, I don't know, because there is unfortunately still a lot of red light runners and crashes in intersections. Okay. Gupta, sometimes in your video you talk super fast, just like Ben Shapiro. I end up turning on subtitles or pause and replay the important part so I don't miss the point. Gupta, thank you for asking that question. That's awesome. For people who English isn't their first language, or I'm talking too fast, because I do talk fast, I totally know that, and I've tried to slow down a lot in my videos. You can go in and slow down the video. You can change how fast the video plays, so you can actually change the playback speed. You can either speed it up or you can slow it down, so that'll help you as well in conjunction with the closed captions on the video there. Natural Ice, what do you think about tailgating? Natural Ice, I think that most drivers on the roadway tailgate. It's part and parcel of social driving. They follow too close, and it's something that they've never been trained out of. They've never driven a commercial vehicle, and you need to get that space in front of you. Most drivers on the roadway are reactionary and retaliatory, and they're hoping on a wing and a prayer that they can get stopped in time to avoid running into the person in front of them, because oftentimes they're far too close and the person in front slows down and then they hit the brakes really hard because it's a moment of inattention of, oh my God, the person in front of me slowing, the person behind them hits the brakes really hard, and then that person, it's usually the third car in the line that tailgate or rear ends the person in front of them. It's not the first person with the second car. It's usually the second and third car it's the third car that ends up driving into the second car because of just the reaction time. And it's part of that bilateral control space in front of your vehicle that Joe sent me, and I appreciate that. And it's, phantom traffic traffic jams on freeways, because the first car brakes, this person reacts a little bit too late, they brake harder. This person reacts a little bit later, they hit the brakes harder and harder and harder, and then what happens is all the cars start slowing down, and then eventually what happens is you get a dead stop out on the freeway because of this phantom traffic jam. Mallory, I was telling my parents yesterday about your shoulder check saying. I'm sure that was driving them crazy, Mallory, telling them about that. History buff, will they have me parallel park between two cars during my driving test? History buff, there's a possibility they could get you to park between two vehicles for the purposes of your driver's test. However, most of the time they don't. Most of the time they will get you to park behind one vehicle. But if they can't find one vehicle, they will get you to park in weird places, in front of a fire hydrant, in front of somebody's driveway, or if they just get caught out and they can't find a place, they will get you to park between two vehicles. But it's not so much, it's more the, it's not the norm for a driver's test. Most of the time they'll just get you parked behind one vehicle. Job, patience is critical when turning left during rush hour. Sometimes there are so many trucks blocking visibility that even with jigzags, I need to wait for the red light 3 or 4 times in a row. And and that was the other thing. So the other advanced skill, and I understand this, is if you are in rush hour traffic, it is incredibly congested and you don't have an advanced green, you're going to have to get into the intersection. You're going to have to go on the yellow-red light to get through the intersection. Now, those are rare. I find that you get that much congestion on a road and the traffic lights don't have an advanced green. I don't know. Smart drivers here watching now or watching on the replay, you could weigh in on this conversation. Do you have intersections on very congested roadways that don't have advanced green turning lights? Because that's generally what we teach students, especially in commercial vehicles, to get around on the left-hand turn, because it's so busy that you can't get through the intersection, so you just wait for the next advanced green, and then you get, you know, a line of vehicles, 10 or 15 vehicles through the intersection on the advanced green. But if it's incredibly busy and you're at a traffic light that doesn't have advanced greens, then yes, you have to crowd into the intersection. That's the only way that you're going to get 2 or 3 cars through the intersection on each cycle through the traffic lights. So that's an advanced skill, and that's something else that, you know, you would have to learn, probably not for your driving test, but you would have to learn it after you get your driver's license and start driving. That, you know, if I'm driving during rush hour and I'm at a traffic light that doesn't have an advanced green, then I need to crowd into the intersection for those vehicles to get through and get around. Beninga, sorry Rick, you don't understand my question. I want to ask, when 2 cars turn left in opposite directions at the same time, what is the safe way to do? Oh, okay. So Beninga, when 2 vehicles are turning left at the same time, there's another car on the other side of the intersection and you're both turning, you can both turn left at the same time because you're both going in different directions. It's gonna be like this. They're gonna go like this, okay? So it's very safe to turn left at both at the same time. Just make sure that the other car is going to turn left as well, right? But most of the time, you know, they will commit, and you can kind of watch their steer tires in the front of the vehicle, make sure that it is in fact going left and that you're going left as well. So that's what you can do. Adam, when confronted with potholes while I'm on high speed, what's the best course of action? Slowing down as soon as possible, or just maneuver, which can be dangerous in my area? Love from Saudi Arabia. Adam, thank you so much for that question. That's awesome. Potholes can be an advanced driving skill. One of the, you know, there is a video on potholes here that I do that. Now, I have a very advanced ability to drive the vehicle, and sometimes you just need to move a few inches in either direction to kind of avoid the pothole. The other piece about that is, you know, there's the 2x4 exercise, and I show you that in the pothole video, where you can figure out exactly where the tires of your vehicle are on the roadway by driving over that piece of 2x4. And it's the same thing with potholes. Sometimes you can get half the tire on the edge of the pothole, and that's enough to miss it, especially at high speeds. Now, the other piece, if you're driving on the right side of the road, you always want to move to the outside. You always want to move to the right. It's not recommended that you move towards oncoming traffic if you're trying to avoid potholes, because that's not a reason to risk your life. So you want to move to the right to try and navigate around potholes. Now, sometimes if they're not very big potholes, like if you get a small crack in the road surface that's, you know, this big, you can just drive over and it won't, nothing will happen, right? It'll be fine. So, you know, it's a matter of space and place, where's your vehicle, and those types of things. You just have to figure that out when you're driving and try to avoid potholes, okay? And if you do hit one, you're going to know it, because, you know, it's going to make the ride very rough, and the whole suspension of the vehicle kind of crunches. So, Ben, it's roadwork season in Minnesota. Again, not my favorite time of year. Yes, and construction really does slow us down for sure. Natural Ice, thanks for the info. Have a great week. You as well, Natural Ice. Thanks for coming in and asking questions and participating. That's great. Gupta, when my husband takes a left turn, sometimes he just goes straight to the right lane after the left turn, and then I scold him. He brags experience. I find it really unsafe. And Gupta, you are absolutely right. But it's part of social driving that when people make left turns, they just drift over to the right lane. It's the same thing if they make a right turn onto a multi-lane road, they just drift over to the left lane. It's completely part and parcel of social driving, and you're right, it's not safe. It's not safe. You go around into the left-hand lane, get the vehicle straightened out, and then change lanes over to the other side. But you're not going to convince your husband to do otherwise, because it's the same thing with everybody else. And this is another part of social driving. People think they know. And we talked about this in terms of defensive driving, that, you know, we all own a camera. We all think we can take pictures. It's the same thing with driving. We all own a car. We all think that we can drive. And that's just not the reality. Especially in North America, we can look at the number of traffic crashes that people have and the reasons for those traffic crashes, and we know that 90%, 85 to 90% of those traffic crashes happen because of driver error. So, drivers are making mistakes, and this is the reason that there's a huge push for autonomous vehicles, because they think, the authorities, the infamous they, think that we can take human emotion, human opinion out of the equation, and we can significantly reduce traffic crashes with computers. I don't believe that, because driving is incredibly complex. I mean, at least not in this century. So, but I am looking forward to autonomous vehicles where I just get in and I can sit in the back and read a book or whatnot. Ben, I'm going out driving this Thursday for a picnic. I get better every time gaining more confidence. Awesome. That is great, Ben. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure. Do you have a lot of potholes there in Saudi Arabia? That's great. Okay, so Corey, who's looking for that? And that is awesome, and we appreciate you being one of the smart drivers here, Mallory, for sure. That's really great. All right. Ben, we have too many potholes in the Twin City because too many guys have big tires on their pickup trucks. I think they should only when they're out of country. No, one of the reasons that you have potholes is because you have winter time in Minnesota, like so many other places, and you get the ground freezes in the winter time, and then when the ground thaws, you get the water, which is ice, and then it turns to liquid, and it makes the substructure of the roadway very soft, and you get big vehicles on top, and they're moving around, and now the whole road surface is kind of floating around on that base, and you get a little hole and a little hole where some of the water evaporates underneath, and it when the substructure moves, you get a little dip, and you get a little dip, and then the cars keep going over it, and the cars keep going over it, and it just punches it down, and eventually you get a big pothole. So, road construction in places where you have winter is challenging, to say the least, for engineers. And, I mean, in some places they do just an incredible job, but as you know, every summer is road construction because we have to fix these roads all the time for them to continue to be nice to drive on. Adam, thank you so much for the information. I have gained a ton of confidence after practicing your exercises, and that is awesome. And thank you for stopping back, Adam, and letting us know. Carl, being a commercial driver, do you feel is a good method to follow with driving? Look around, leave room, and communicate. Carl, I would need to kind of look at that, but it doesn't, it works, I guess, like any other method, but I think there's a lot of specificity that's missing there in terms of driving and being proactive when you're driving and keeping yourself safe. I would need to look at that a little bit more. Okay. Assisted driving for Tesla cars for braking and collision avoiding on freeways is it a good idea? Assisted driving, it's difficult because unfortunately the trust with autonomous vehicles has gone. A few of them have crashed for inexplicable reasons, and when something does go wrong, it doesn't go wrong very often, but when it does, it takes a long time for the driver to come back into the driving situation, especially if they've completely tuned out. I mean, you only have a matter of seconds before you have to get back in and take control of the vehicle. The problem with it is the drivers have completely tuned out, and many times it's going to take far too long and the vehicle's already going to crash. So my thinking is that the transition from semi-autonomous vehicles to autonomous vehicles is going to be a very rocky kind of transition. I think it's kind of like electric cars right now. Electric cars are, well-intentioned, but the technology is not in place, and the fact that we're building another infrastructure to support electric vehicles just boggles my mind. It's like, but you keep the price of fuel high, and everybody's going to be looking for electric vehicles. So it's a complicated topic for sure. Beninga, I find it dangerous left turns when it's sunset in summertime here in Toronto. Beninga, yes, anytime sunset, sunrise, when the sun is right on the horizon, it's going to be really tough to be able to see. So yeah, no doubt. Brody, what do I do if a customer takes too long to get their food at the drive-thru at the In-N-Out Burger? Wait. Ben, guys with trucks think they own the road. Ben, you and Tracy could have a great conversation because that's her pet peeve. Ben says electric cars aren't for him. Matrix, I mean the car raking over from person to not following that. Gupta, kindly answer my question regarding electric cars. Do they have good resale value? Mustang, Mach-E versus Tesla. Okay, Gupta, my experience with electric cars is this. The kid's mom had a Tesla, and they sold it after 18 months because it was completely unreliable. They couldn't drive an hour and a half without having to recharge it, and every time that something needed to be repaired, and I think it was about 3 times in the 18 months that it needed to be repaired, they put it on a diesel truck. They shipped it 4.5 hours to Vancouver. They fixed it in Vancouver. They put it back on a diesel truck, and they shipped it back here. And that only lasted for about 18 months. Joe, if you're heading out of town during afternoon rush hour, you'll get advanced greens in most Toronto area municipalities. If you are going the other way, you could be waiting a while. Patience. Yeah, and that's the thing with driving as a whole. Is you have to train yourself to overcome that visceral urge to me first, I'm in a hurry, I gotta go. Okay? So that comes back to being part of social driving. If you can maintain that space in front of your vehicle, if you can stop yourself from being reactionary and reacting to what other people are doing, because essentially, what we always get oh, look at that idiot. Look at that kid on that bicycle. Just out there driving around, no helmet, Oh, Martha, look at that. That guy can't drive. That guy in his big truck. Oh my God, what's he compensating for? That kind of stuff. That's what's happening when we're out there driving in the arena of social driving. We're getting all bent out of shape because of what other people are doing, right? So you have to control yourself in traffic. Have a great night, Tim, and enjoy your supper, and we'll see you next week, my friend. All the best. So know that, and again, it's what Joe was saying about patience. It's calm awareness when you're driving. Are you calm? Are you observing what's going on? Are you mapping and tracking other road users at intersections? Are you waiting for the gap in traffic to make the left-hand turn? Are you ignoring the other drivers that are honking at you? Are you focusing on what you're doing? And this is one of the most difficult things for new drivers to do, because other drivers are honking, they're flashing their lights, they're telling you you're number one, they're yelling, they're tailgating you, they're crowding you, all these things as part of retaliation because they think that you did something wrong. You didn't go on the gap that they thought you should go. So it's incredibly hard to overcome those urges, to overcome having that running monologue about how bad other people are in the driving arena. So you need to focus and have patience and just maintain that space around your vehicle. And I do that all the time. And this is why, drivers say to me, oh, blah, 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 blah. I don't find that when I drive. I find, most of the time I get along. But, I teach all of these defensive driving methods, proactive driving as I call it. But at one and the same time, I'm still an aggressive driver. I maintain space around my vehicle. I still drive fast. I keep up with the traffic flow. And I'm going, but I'm not being aggressive. I don't have aggressive lane changes. I'm not cutting people off. I'm not speeding excessively. But I am an aggressive driver. I've always been an aggressive driver. Even when I was driving truck, I wanted to get there as quickly as I could. But I wasn't risking my safety or other people's safety by compromising that space. And we talked about that in the defensive driving, proactive, smarter defensive driving last couple of weeks ago, in terms of maintaining that space. Because if you can maintain space, then you have time. You have time to observe, you have time to respond, you have time to read what's going on with traffic patterns, exactly what Ben was talking about earlier, about he knows what other drivers are doing before they do it. That's because you're reading the traffic patterns and predicting the individual actions of road users on the roadway, and you're responding accordingly. You're creating more space around your vehicle. You're beginning to slow your vehicle. You're moving lanes to prevent that tailgater behind you running up your trunk and those types of things. So all of this is happening while you're driving. Shy, I'm scared to drive sometimes because people honk when I'm driving, when I'm not driving fast. Shy, are you doing at least the posted speed limit? Because if you're doing the posted speed limit, then just, let them go and have their crash somewhere else. Just focus on what you're doing. Don't let other people, bullies and those types of things, stop you from driving, okay? Do what you need to do. Gupta, look like Tim always takes his dinner on time. Really good habit. Dinner should be done by 6. Unless you're European, then dinner's a little bit later, around 8 p.m. and whatnot. That's one of the things you got to get used to if you go to Europe. Dinner is a lot later there, for sure. Adam, justify parking far away from everyone else. Please people keep hitting my car when they open their doors. Adam, yeah, and one of the other, to just keep your vehicle safe from bings and bingles, park at the back of the parking lot, away from other traffic and other cars and those types of things, and that way you're not going to get smucked, dinged on your car door, and people aren't driving shopping carts and those types of things into it and whatnot. Joe, calm awareness. Much of the old Smith system is past its best before date due to the 2020s not being the 1950s, but their advice to get a mindset that's alert but calm, that's timeless. Actually, calm awareness, Joe, that's mine. Smith doesn't own that. That's mine. I should probably throw that into the the copyright bin, because that's actually the one that I'm working on right now with the smarter defensive driving. So yeah, but again, it's like you said, it's all about that calm awareness. Ben, I either go with the flow of traffic or the posted speed limit at all times. Awesome. Beninga, here in Toronto there is too many aggressive drivers, but I always ignore them, and you have to do that. And it's not just Toronto, believe me. It's here in where I live. It's where Tim lives on the island. It's where all the people in the United States live, in Georgia and Los Angeles and New York and those types of things. And people are going to do that. They sense that you did something wrong. They sense that you're in their way. They're always going to tell you that you did something wrong. Joe, no need to apologize, my friend. No need to apologize at all. So, yeah, and basically, Joe, the other thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to update and come up with a better defensive driving model. And actually, I'm going to completely change it from defensive driving, because when we think of defensive driving, we're thinking, oh my God, I got to defend myself, and we're cowering. Whereas I'm going to call it proactive driving, where we're actually being proactive in our driving. We're actually creating space around our vehicle that allows us to, again, read and respond traffic. We're able to look at the traffic patterns, predict the individual actions of different road users, map and track them, and keep ourselves safe when we're driving. Calm awareness and that proactive driving. It's not defensive driving, it's proactive driving. We're being proactive in our driving and doing something. We're not just idly sitting there. We're not passive. We're not kind of hitting and quitting it, right? Because unfortunately too many people do that, and they're not being proactive in their driving, and that's what we want to move towards. Crystal, it's my birthday tomorrow, so therefore I'll be celebrating it on Wednesday and Saturday. Yay, on the 13th of July. And you're going to Six Flags to the amusement park. That sounds absolutely awesome, Crystal, and happy birthday for tomorrow. That's really great, my friend. Ben, I can help you with that, Rick, if you need some ideas. It's always great to help. Thanks so much, Ben. D says ignore them and they eventually go around you, and yes, they absolutely will. Lou, what is the best way to change lanes in traffic jam where you cannot find any gaps in the other lane? This is very common during rush hour Metro Vancouver. Okay, so what you need to do is you just need to put your signal on and you need to crowd that left side of the lane. Eventually somebody will let you in. Somebody will help you and create space. Most people, when they're trying to change lanes and other people won't let them in, they don't put their signal on. But I will guarantee you, you got 10 or 15 flashes on your signal, eventually somebody will let you in. All right? So know that for the purposes of changing lanes in congested traffic, that you just keep your signal on and you just keep crowding that left side, and eventually somebody will let you in and help you to move over and change lanes. Gupta, I miss Safeway, Save on Food, Stanley Park, Sea to Sky, and all the stuff out west. Yes, it is a little bit different. Ben, are you writing a book? Yes, I am, Ben. I'm working desperately to finish up Driving Test Secrets. I've got it back from the editor. There's one more piece that's coming back from the editor. I'm trying to get the images into it right now, and I'm hoping to get it off to the graphic designer to put it into an ebook by, hopefully next week. I'm hoping to have it up for the beginning of August for sale over at Amazon and on my website. Matrix, learning to drive at age 46 is so expensive as I can't drive most of my friends' cars. Is there insurance discounts require 10 years safe driving in a class 5? Yeah, Matrix, it's not just you. It's tough for all learner drivers. The cost of insurance is incredible. Not to mention the cost of fuel, the cost of the car. This is another video I'm going to do on shorts. Tracy was complaining about the cost of parking downtown, and of course the meter maids and their precision in if you're 1 minute late they're going to give you a parking ticket, and how much all of that costs. And the war on parking is nothing new. I did some research on that when I was doing my PhD dissertation with the City of Melbourne and the Royal Automobile Club of Victoria, which is the state in Australia. And they actually took the city to court saying that they didn't have the right to charge for parking in the city. And so it's not a new conflict, on the traffic front. So, yeah, and unfortunately, Matrix, I kind of digressed there a little bit, but the cost of driving is exorbitant, absolutely. Matrix says, I've only been learning from my instructor. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to get mentors and other people to help you out in those kinds of things. F, sometimes I struggle to know if someone is letting me in their lane or not when merging. And F, that's just comes with experience and whatnot. Generally, when you're looking in your mirror, if the other car is in the top third of the mirror, then generally they are far enough back. But again, you want to, in combination with looking in your mirror, you want to shoulder check and make sure that they're back so you can see and get into that gap. But again, signaling helps as well, because if you start moving over, right, 3 flashes on the signal before you start moving over, if you've had the signal on, then they're going, oh, wait a minute, okay, they're coming over, so they're going to back off a little bit and help you to get and move over. Crystal, then on the 16th of July, I'm having a birthday party at my house. Also, I'll be turning 20 years old. You're still a youngin'. Just a baby, Crystal. So that's going to be really awesome, my friend. Ben, I get a lot when I drive too, because people speed up with me, and I have that when it happens. It's always going to happen, Ben. People are going to track you and whatnot. Mallory, when you attended the University of Australia, was driving in Australia different than driving in Canada? Yes, the driving in Australia was quite a bit different. First of all, they drive on the left side of the road. And the second is, like Europe, they have a lot of roundabouts. And it was the first time that I had encountered roundabouts in big volumes. And it took me probably 6 to 8 weeks of driving before I became comfortable with roundabouts. And once I caught on to roundabouts, I really, really liked roundabouts. And I think that we should really get rid of a lot of our conventional intersections here in North America. And I believe and convinced, in my professional opinion, that if we brought in more roundabouts in North America, you would increase traffic safety. You would reduce the number of crashes here, because I believe that roundabouts are instrumental in reducing the number of crashes at intersections. Wolf, thank you so much, my friend. We do what we can to help out and empower you to pass your driver's test, be a safer, smarter driver. So that's what we're doing. Sometimes, yeah, okay, so we talked about that. Awesome. And Corey's put up the video on roundabouts. Thanks for that, Corey. And so just going over anybody passing a driver's test, anybody going, getting ready for the driver's license, the 4 components of any driver's license. Of course, we've talked a lot about social driving tonight, being reactionary and retaliatory. If you are going for your driver's license, you can't do what the other traffic is doing on the roadway, okay? There's a lot of things that you need to do differently to pass your driver's test. And this is one of the challenges of learning how to drive, is that the examples that you see in everyday driving are not what you are going to be doing for a driver's test. Space management. You have to maintain space in front of your vehicle. You have to have a following distance of 3 to 4 seconds. Stopping at controlled intersections behind the stop line, before the crosswalk or sidewalk. If those 2 conditions don't exist, then you need to stop at the edge of the intersection before entering the intersection. Don't enter an intersection you can't clear. Blocking the box is an automatic fail on the driver's test. The box of the intersection. If you're in that and the light turns red, that's an automatic fail on a driver's test. Speed management. Posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. Most of the time you're going to be driving the posted speed limit for the purposes of your driver's test. Observation. You need to have a forward scanning pattern when you're driving down the road. Far down the road, check your center mirror. Far down the road, check your instrument panel. Far down the road, check your wing mirrors. And that's repeating every 10 to 15 seconds as you're driving. Your observation and forward scanning pattern is tied into your speed control. People ask me, how fast over the speed limit can I go? Okay? You need to change and adjust your speed every 10 to 15 seconds in keeping with your scanning pattern. Every time you change direction, signal. Every time you change direction, shoulder check. Reversing, 360-degree scan around the vehicle. Look out the back window. You can use and look at a backup camera and your mirrors, but you can't use it as your primary line of sight. Communication. You have to communicate effectively with other traffic. Position of your vehicle is the number one way that we communicate with other traffic. And Ben was talking about this, about knowing what other drivers are doing. Communication. Position of the vehicle on the roadway. If the vehicle's in the left-hand turning lane, high probability it's going to turn left. Lights and signals, horns, use it, little tap on it. It's seen as a sign of aggression. And then lastly, hand gestures and eye contact. If you're not sure what a cyclist is doing or somebody on a motorcycle or a pedestrian, get eye contact and then, wave them through or figure out what's going on. These are the other ways that we communicate with other traffic. So those are the 4 components of any driver's test. If you're going down the day before, make sure you do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle, because you don't want to be denied your driver's test because you had a brake light out or whatnot. So Corey will put that video up on pre-trip inspection. Queen, I got a speeding ticket a few months back, and how was that experience with the police officer when you got your speeding ticket? Queen. Adam, 100%. Okay, you guys are having a conversation. Joe, super safety focused advice tonight. Rick, getting T-boned during a left turn, just save a second or two. Not smart and could be tragic. Have a fabulous week. And you as well, my friend. And yes, a second or two, is it worth risking the lives of you or other occupants in the vehicle, because T-bone crashes are very serious, okay? D says, don't forget your parking brake. Yes, every time you park the vehicle, get in the habit of applying the parking brake, even if you have an automatic one. I would counsel you, because you can turn that off in the controls of the vehicle. I know lots of people that it comes on automatically when you put it into gear, but if you're driving somebody else's vehicle, you're going to get out of that habit of applying the parking brake. I'm not a big fan of the car doing stuff for me. I like to be able to drive the car, not the car drive me or micromanage me. I have a lot of trouble when cars start micromanaging me. Mariah, thank you. I get my driver's license yesterday. I learned a lot from your videos, and that is awesome. I'm so happy to hear that we can help out. Queen, he was really nice. I should have been watching closer at the speed. Queen, that's awesome. I'm happy to hear that the police officer was professional, very nice, and most of them are. I talk about it in the podcast. Have a look at that on getting pulled over by police and the proper procedure. I have been pulled over many, many times because I was a very aggressive truck driver, and always were professional. Never had a problem, except when I said something that I shouldn't have said. Like, is there a problem, officer? And then they scream at you. But most of the time, it was always good. Okay, Matrix had a collision in my area when someone in a left turn light decided to cross 3 lanes and turn right after entering the intersection. And yes, unfortunately, that happens. That people are going to do goofy things. And this is why I counsel you not to be in the intersection when you're turning left. Committed to the intersection, but not in the intersection is the key for driving safe and keeping yourself crash free. Corey, would you buy my book about my road adventures if I write one? Do write your book. You got to have something in hand there, Ben, if you're going to sell it. All right, leave it there for tonight. Thank you so much for all your questions, your participation. Have a look at the podcast. Great information there. You can listen to it in your car. Help you pass your driver's test. Keep yourself safe. If you have a driver's test in the last couple of weeks, congratulations on passing that. And if you have one coming up in the next week or so, good luck on your driver's test. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.